Hello and welcome to Sketchbook in the app, where I draw, and the only thing leading the voiceover is a bullet list I made yesterday during my lunch break. So, as always, I will spend a minuscule amount of time talking about the art because, after all, this is technically an art channel. So I'm doing my part. This sketchbook spread is featuring a post-it note that I did at work, and I liked the drawing so much that I'm like, okay, I've got to use this for something. And I also pulled out my jelly gouache. I have been struggling with sketchbooking recently. What's new? Don't I always struggle with sketchbooking? The thing is, I usually struggle a lot with feeling like I needed to be cohesive. Luckily, I made that happen today. I'm gonna have to do like a study of it to figure out what it was, but something made it look good. Anyways, now that that's done, and I feel like I've done my obligation to talk about the art for, 30 seconds, let's do my actual favorite part of this. I get to talk interrupted for an hour, and you have no choice but to listen. Okay, number one. A couple of days ago, as I was walking home from work, I'm walking through the town square is not the word, but it is the only word that I can come up with. I am walking down a street, alright? I'm walking down a street and I'm in my own just thoughts. I am 2 minutes away from home, and I want you to know the weather currently in Oslo, absolutely beautiful. I took a walk today for an hour. I wore a tank top. I wore a tank top in the middle of April. I know that this is somehow connected to global warming, but I am deciding to look at it with a positive lens. So, beautiful weather, and then suddenly I am damp. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And the lady in front of me also kind of stopped, and she looked very confused, just like I did. And I'm like, why is there a mist on me? And I look up, and there's a motherfucker watering his flowers on his balcony, which, fair enough, you're gonna have to do that or they die. However, maybe be a bit more cautious about where the water's going. Luckily, it wasn't, like, heavy. If he were to do that, I don't know if I would have not yelled at him. I just kind of went, that's a weird thing to do. That's strange to not maybe think about, I am now pouring water over the edge of my balcony. I'm aiming for the flower pot, but what happens if I miss? Not a single thought in that direction, I believe. So yeah, just a little mist, a little shower on a Thursday afternoon. Other updates, Black Mirror Season 7 came out. Watched it all in 24 hours, like I have a tendency to do with Black Mirror. Here is my ranking of the episodes from best to worst. Number 1, Eulogy. Did I ugly cry because I can't handle stories about things left unsaid after someone dies? Maybe. Who are you? The crying cops? Second, Common People. For this reason, like, did you know that you have to pay a subscription for printers? For some printers, you have to pay them to be able to print your papers. I get subscriptions if it's something that is continuously updating and improving or adding, like streaming services or experiences. Like if you're going to a amusement park, all right, you're paying for the experience. Or if you subscribe to Netflix to watch Black Mirror, they have other things than Black Mirror and they keep adding stuff, But a printer? We are one bad oligarch decision away from having a subscription for fucking fridges. Hold on. Never mind, LG has already done that. And then I'm not even going to try to pronounce this, so give me a second. I'm going to just play a robot voice pronouncing this.
Bête noire.
That's the one. And fourth place, Hotel Riviere. And then USS Callister. Last place, Plaything. If you have strong opinions about the Black Mirror Season 7 episode ranking, let me know. We can... actually, no, we cannot have a debate. I don't feel like doing that. But you feel free to leave your opinions. I've also finished 3 seasons. So I have watched 1, 2, and 3 seasons of Ghost Whisperer, which these videos, Sketchbook and Yep videos, are just for me to be able to continuously update you on the show Ghost Whisperer. Hey, it doesn't get better. Like, this show does not get better throughout the seasons. If anything, they get more questionable somehow. The great thing about Ghost Whisperer is they will introduce a plot or a character and then not mention it for another 12 episodes before making a mid-season thing and then forgetting it again. I cannot explain to you how much this show reeks of like 3 showrunners refusing to be in the same room. Here's a spoiler alert if you have yet to watch season 3 of Ghost Whisperer, which I believe was aired nearly 20 years ago. So we have been introduced to Melinda's dad in the sense that we know that Melinda's dad like ran away, left them. And then in season 3, they decide that this character that we have no relationship with shows up, and turns out he's not her dad. He's not her dad. He's well, he was a stepdad. So in a sense, he's not her biological dad. Let's just say that. Do you know who her biological dad is? A guy who is haunting her. Like, she sees a ghost who she thinks killed a little boy. He didn't kill a little boy, but her stepdad prosecuted him and put him in prison. So her stepdad put her biological dad in prison, and now fucking 25 years later, she's being haunted by her biological dad's ghost, who her stepdad killed when he ran away from prison, and then he hid the body underneath the house, and she's also being haunted by the ghost of the little boy that her biological dad was convicted of killing. Hey, you cannot convince me that plotline was outlined in the beginning stages of the show. There's no way that there was a post-it note that said, dad turns out to not be dad, biological dad is dead, haunting her, buried under her childhood home, and her stepdad put him in prison. What the fuck? And before you even ask, yes, I will finish the entire show. Why are you even asking me that? A show that I watched as a kid was Home and Away. The Australian soap opera, Home and Away. My mum watched Home and Away. As long as I can remember, Home and Away was a show. My mum watched Home and Away when she was pregnant with me. Home and Away started in the late 1980s. My mum started watching Home and Away when she was younger than I am now. So at like 8 years old, I started watching Home and Away. And I can tell you specifically I can't tell you what episode number it was. I can tell you like around what episode number it was because I Googled it. It was around episode 4,900. I became aware of what was going on. I watched Home and Away every single day for 4 years, up until the age of like 13. I had some changes in my life at that point, so, couldn't watch Home and Away anymore, but for those 4 years, every day, I ran home to make sure that I caught Home and Away at 4 p.m. And yesterday, as I was trying to figure out what episode it was, that was my first Home and Away episodes. Chris Hemsworth was on Home and Away. And he was probably on the show when I was watching it. I just wasn't aware that he was, Chris Hemsworth. I wish I could say that I would love to binge all of it, but considering we're talking about close to 8,000 episodes, because, oh, don't worry, it is still going. And I found that out yesterday, because there's a website that's called wait, hold on, I'm gonna find it. Home and Away. It's called Back to the Bay. And it has you can go through every single fucking episode. Like, if you go into 1994, episode 1385, Nathan is faced with temptation. Angel is determined to track down her child. Who's Nathan? They have a summary of every single fucking episode, which is amazing and also slightly concerning. However, we might be able, because this is a question I get sometimes, which is about the accent. I have decided that because the thing is, obviously, no one sounds like this naturally if you're taught English as a second language in a country where English isn't. Like, if you're from a country, you move to a country where they speak predominantly English, you may pick up the accent. No one sounds like this without effort. I'm fully aware that I sound like Crocodile Dundee fucked Sherlock Holmes. I spent every single day for 4 years at a very crucial time in my development watching Home and Away. And then I got obsessed with One Direction. So I don't know if we can be surprised, really. Usually people would just assume I'm from wherever they are not from. So English people ask me if I'm Australian. Australians ask me if it's some sort of English accent. Norwegian people say it's Irish. If anyone who's Irish is watching this video, hey, before you yell at me, I'm not making the claims, alright? I'm fully aware. Alright, don't even try. Like, I am sorry. But let's start the discourse in the comments. What if you had to make a specific guess? Would you say it's English, Australian? And then I have one bullet note that it's not going to be a long story. It is just my AirPods keep connecting to things when they are in the case, and I am about to pull every single hair out of my head. I will be watching something, and then suddenly my device will be announcing to me that my AirPods are connected. My AirPods that are in their case at the other side of the room. And they have the fucking nerve to run out of battery because they are connecting to my devices. I didn't ask you to do this. This is your personal choice. And neither one of us wants this to be happening. So we are moving on to audience participation time, which is where you guys choose the topics and questions that I will be talking about. So I still get to talk, but you get to feel some sort of agency. I will just be putting the username of who came up with the topic suggestion. And we are starting with pets, past, present, and future. Now, my first personal pet was a hamster. And as we all know, hamsters are on a 24/7 suicide mission. My hamster was no different. I lost that little bugger several times. Like, he ran away several times. He always came back. But oh my god. His name was Ludde, which I didn't name him, technically. My mum named him. She chose the name, and I just kind of went with it. He was a Syrian hamster. I have, like, specific memories of losing him. One time, we took him with us to our family cabin. We were celebrating, like, I don't know, Easter, Christmas, something, and we made the mistake of letting him out of his cage to just kind of, like, roam around. We were like, we'll keep an eye on him. And then someone, and I genuinely don't know whose responsibility it was to keep eye on the hamster. May have been me, but I was 9 years old, so how much can you really expect? Someone lost eye of the hamster, and then he was gone. So we lost him, and we were like, where is the rodent? Where's the rodent? I'm, like, crying. We have not seen the hamster in 2 hours. I'm crying. My granddad's in the kitchen, and he suddenly kind of goes, oh, I found the hamster. My hamster is crawling out from underneath the kitchen counters, and he's completely grey. Because it's obviously so dusty underneath. It's amazing that he survived, because I'm pretty sure that when he went behind there, he could easily have gotten trapped and then just died. I also remember losing him at home once. Losing him at home wasn't as bad because there was nowhere he could disappear to, because we lived in an apartment. So unless my 200-gram hamster learned to open doors, that was, we were safe. But I was still crying because my hamster's gone again. And I'm, like, on the couch crying. And then I see movement in the shoe rack. My hamster had crawled into his shoe and fallen asleep. He did die, and we buried him in the garden. So I'm obviously not going to tell you the address, but if you live in my childhood home, just know that, like, close to the drying racks, there's a dead hamster in the ground somewhere. Other than that, we had a German Shepherd at some point. My dad had a flat coat retriever and a Labrador. And we've had cats since I was, like, 14. I've lived with cats. And I've recently accepted that I am most likely allergic to cats. Every time I've been visiting home, I get itchy, especially in my eyes. And I've just blamed my allergies because I have really, really bad pollen and grass allergies. But I've kind of just blamed it on that and said, well, the cats were outside, so obviously they are covered in pollen, and that's why no, you are most likely just allergic to cats, and you have refused to accept that because you really love your cats. So I'm just gonna have to figure that one out. Then there's a question about artistic communities, if I've joined any groups or if I've gone to a lot of artistic events. I'm not a very social person. I like people to a certain degree, but I'm very comfortable with just the people that I know. I have friends that knit and sew, but other than that, I don't participate much. I know that there's an artist community because there's a monthly art market that is regularly, like, filled with people. But no, haven't. The closest is probably my 2 years of art classes at 10. Would you ever host an art competition? Okay, here's the thing. There's an Instagram account that is named Lonely Artist Collective that I made months ago, like ages ago. And I think I created it as, like, something that is other than Lonely Girl Studio. I think in my head I wanted it to be like maybe a monthly art challenge, weekly art, like, after I did Peachtober, I thought, you know, it would be fun for this to be something that went on. And I know that there's, you know, I'm not the first one to think of doing art challenges year long, but I wanted to perhaps make I don't know, wanted to make like a community type of deal of it. But I have a tendency to overestimate myself. So I know that starting a new project like that might be like shoving my own head underwater. I've also thought of it in the context of opening my Patreon, that, you know, doing a monthly art prompt or something like that could be fun. But I don't know if art competition is something I don't even know how I would do that. I don't know how I would host it. I don't know what the competition would be about. Perhaps at like 1K followers on Instagram, I'll do a draw this in your style, but I don't know if competitions is something for me. Then they ask for advice for beginner artists trying to build a channel. I mean, number one, know that most likely it's not going to be a quick thing. And that can be really discouraging. It can be discouraging if you feel like you're putting a lot of effort and, you know, blood, sweat, and tears and pencil shavings into something, and you feel like you're screaming into the void. I don't think anything I'm going to say is going to be groundbreaking compared to what everyone else is going to say. If your focus is growing your channel, everyone talks about consistency, and that is important if your focus is growing. But I think that it might be better to just focus on doing the stuff that you enjoy, because if you don't, it's gonna fucking suck. Also, sometimes it's going to fucking suck, even when you're doing stuff that you enjoy. I don't know you, obviously, personally, but there's times where I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'd also advise you to not spread yourself too thin, because I'm guilty of this, obviously, myself, but you do not need a Threads and Twitter and Instagram and Twitch channel and YouTube channel and TikTok. Like, it is a bad idea. You are going to hate it. I don't know if any of that was helpful in any sense. Also, something. I don't think always the things that you are going to enjoy making is the things that you enjoy watching. Because there are things that I enjoy watching that I would rather like shove bamboo splinters underneath all 10 of my fingernails than have to make myself. So you'll have to figure that one out for yourself, but know that just because you like watching something does not mean that you have to make that stuff yourself. Favorite music and song recommendations. I am going to come out and say something controversial. Brace yourself. I actually like Imagine Dragons. I know that we like to joke about Imagine Dragons being divorced dad in his 40s music, and you know what? Maybe I'm a divorced dad in his 40s named Mark, okay? I don't care. I like Imagine Dragons. I currently have Come On Eileen stuck in my head. I've had it stuck in my head for well over a week, but specifically the bridge, the Eileen Tallulah part that just repeats. That is the part that I am constantly humming. If you want to follow me on Spotify, here's my username. And then we have 2 questions that I'm just going to combine, which is my recent fixations and what my childhood obsession was. I recently, not long ago, had a thing about saltwater crocodiles. Like at work, just right-clicking, open a new tab. So many articles about saltwater crocodiles, and it's for the sole reason that I'm terrified of saltwater crocodiles. And what's great about saltwater crocodiles is that they are an animal that I can very easily avoid for the rest of my life if I want to. There's no reason for me to worry about ever standing face to face with a saltwater crocodile unless I put myself in a situation where it's going to happen. When it comes to books, shows, and movies, I read Harry Potter like every other kid born in the late 1900s. Obviously, I would never buy a single Harry Potter related thing now, but it was a very large part of my life as a kid. As well was Twilight and The Hunger Games. You know, did not think the author of Harry Potter would be the problematic one when one of them's a Mormon. Like, who would have thought that the Mormon who wrote about a scandalous cargo skirt would be less problematic than J.K. Rowling? But what I'd like to tell you is that I've always had a thing for the more macabre, and that includes as a child. There was a book about the Titanic in our school library, and I would just continuously keep borrowing the same book about the Titanic. I would read it in the school library when we had library hour every week. I read the same book about the Titanic just over and over again, and I'm pretty sure at some point the librarian asked my teacher if there was something wrong with me, because why is this 7-year-old obsessed with a boat that went down nearly 100 years ago and so many people died? I would also, when I got access to a laptop, watched behind the scenes videos of the Saw movies, and I have a distinct memory of my mum napping and my mum waking up and asking me what I was doing, and I just turned the screen towards her and she sees me watching a behind the scenes video on YouTube from the Saw movies about how they made the needle pit. And she was so angry. She was like, turn that off. You are not watching that. And I think I was like, you know that's not real. All right? Like, you know it's fake. It's rubber needles. It's not real. When I was in the 7th grade, in English, we had to write an essay. And we could write an essay about anything we wanted because the challenge wasn't writing an essay about a specific topic. It was just writing an essay. So we could choose any topic we wanted. We just had to write an essay. And I didn't have a computer. We didn't have like a computer at home that I could use. So I would have to handwrite all of my schoolwork at the time. So I wrote a 3-page long handwritten essay with pictures. I'll give you a second to guess what my topic was. Wrong. Jack the Ripper. Like a 11-year-old who handed in a handwritten, and I'm pretty sure that I like wrote the header colored pencil headers for the different sections about my handwritten essay about Jack the Ripper with photos. So yeah, maybe perhaps the librarian questioning my teacher in 2nd grade asking if I was alright was warranted, considering how that went. Then someone asked about our pet peeves. I don't know if I struggle with like putting my fingers on pet peeves because I'm annoyed a lot of the time in general. Number 1 is AI artist, and I say artist with the utmost disrespect. Genuinely pick up a fucking stick and draw in the dirt. Get a magazine, cut some pictures out and glue them on a sheet of copy paper. Like, I am begging you, finger paint if you have to. Second pet peeve, and this is like not necessarily art pet peeves, but it is something very relevant for me because I might be burning some bridges here, but like it's not. I get really, really annoyed with businesses that don't want to pay for work. And I'm sure that any artist with like more than 1,000 subscribers and a decent watch time hour rating have been getting emails from a company that just continuously want to send you stuff in exchange for you marketing for them, like you making content. And I have made a copy and paste email that I just reply with. It's at least once a month, really. My very professional email reply is always, feel free to send me something, but if you want to guarantee that I'm going to use it, or you want to have any say in how I use it, you have to give me money. If you've never created YouTube videos, and obviously it depends on the type of video, it depends on person to person, how much effort, how much practice you have, but a video can easily take 10 to 24 hours to make. So it is absolutely egregious that so many companies want to send creators stuff that we have to pay taxes on, and then just ask us to do free labor. And like I say in all of my emails, feel free to send me stuff, but the moment a company wants to have any say in the content, like they want to approve it, or they want to be specific about what you should mention, that is no longer just a gift. That is now a commission. So that is a really annoying pet peeve that I have. That was kind of funny. A couple of months ago, they sent one of their standard emails out, but they had forgotten to blind copy everyone. So it was me and like 60 other artists' emails, which it's always fun because you know that they are doing that, but it was so funny to just see it like happening, because the emails always start with, hello dear, we love your content. Tell me a single video that I've put out in the past 3 months. Okay, now that I'm done talking about that, specific art pet peeves, it really bugs me how much prep and cleanup art can take. I do envy people who have art studios, like specific rooms just for art and creation, because they can just leave stuff out. I will just not do stuff because I cannot be bothered with having to pull everything out and knowing that I will have to like wash and put everything away afterwards. It's annoying. It's inconvenient. I'm also really annoyed with smudging in sketchbooks. I use so many sheets of paper between pages in sketchbooks because I don't want the pages rubbing together and smudging onto each other. So sometimes when I open my sketchbook, like 3-4 sheets of paper would just fall out because I've used them to protect the pages from each other. And then I'm going to talk about some conspiracy theories. Now, I've already talked about one of my favorite, which is that Finland's not real. And other than Finland not being real, obviously, flat earth conspiracies are great. I don't know how well versed you guys are in flat earth conspiracy theories. Obviously, by the name itself, you realize that they believe that the earth is flat. What I love more is that not only is the earth flat, there's also a dome, and the sun and the moon are just lamps. I think what's great about flat earth conspiracy theories is just there has to be so many lies upon lies. Like, so many things have to be lies for it to be true. Not just NASA. Any space program ever has to be a lie. The moon landing is a lie because obviously you can't land on the lamp that is the moon hanging from the dome above our flat earth. All of science. The question about how if the sun and moon are just lamps above a flat earth, how is it that, for me, currently, it's close to 9 p.m. and it's light outside. How does that work? Because if I was to call my friend who lives in South Korea and I asked her, hey, if you look outside your window right now, what do you see? She'd be like, nothing, because it's dark. How does that work if it's just one lamp hanging above us? And like their questions, because obviously they have their replies and like their questions. One of them being, if the earth is round, how do we not fall off? As if their theory of a frisbee in the sky with a cheese belt above it is so much better. I remember during COVID, obviously it was a horrible time. People were absolutely bonkers, but the conspiracies did crack me up a bit, as much as they can, because people were obviously dying. I think the one that really got to me was the 5G one. And the track is the government. And not just the government, like every single government apparently in the world. Because this wasn't a thing that just happened to like a town in Tennessee. Like this was a worldwide event. And that they were adding 5G trackers in our vaccines. Have you ever put your info into your cell phone while logged onto a public Wi-Fi? Great, they have your information. Like they do not... And also, you know what? Maybe you have some fantasies about grandeur. Because why would we need to track you? There are so many easier ways for the world to get your information than having to implant a 5G through a, let me check my notes, vaccine needle. We are walking around 24/7 with GPS trackers on our phones. I wear a GPS tracker on my wrist. The only time I take my personal GPS tracker off is when I'm showering. I'm so not worried about being injected with a 5G chip. And then the question that has been asked twice, would you ever potentially do another Sketchbook in a Week challenge? Unfortunately, the answer is yes. And unfortunately, it is not a hypothetical, it is happening. And I won't tell you more than that. Just know that there's a sketchbook sitting on a shelf looking at me. Someone asked what my favorite piece of furniture is, which, you know what? I appreciate you asking, because my coffee table has a lot of storage in it, and it is really, really great. Nothing makes you feel like more of an adult than having a coffee table. And even though you didn't ask, my least favorite furniture is my dresser situation. I miss having a large closet that I could just shove everything into. I wake up every day and I look at my dresser with despise in my eyes and hatred in my heart. And with my announcement of my beef with an inanimate object, we've made it to the end of the video. Thank you if you've made it to the end of the video. Hey, maybe you should talk to someone about that. Like, maybe you should get a hobby. Hopefully, you've spent this time well by, I don't know, drawing in Sketchbook. That's the original plan, you know? I draw in my sketchbook, and then I talk, and then you draw in your sketchbook, and you don't talk, but you listen to me talk. That's it's a great parasocial relationship you and I have. Follow me on Instagram, and I will leave you alone now. Goodbye.